So recently, during that time of year where all the big gaming companies come together to parade the dead corpse of E3 around, Sega unveiled a brand new trailer for their previously announced new Crazy Taxi entry, and the game is going to be using generative AI in some non-coherently detailed way. And it would be easy for me to just point, say AI slop, laugh, and then call it a day, but I want to ignore all of those parts for a second. Instead, I want to look at this bit of gameplay Sega has released since the dumpster fire of this game's reception began. And oh boy, is it gameplay. It's been 30 seconds, right? It looks like shit, okay? There's no gear shifting, crazy dashes, you stop on a goddamn dime. This is nothing like Crazy Taxi. And it's not even like Sega are the first people to try. Taxi Chaos 2, Simpsons Road Rage, Mile High Taxi, all games that came out trying to emulate what gave Crazy Taxi its appeal, with none of them quite doing it right. And now it seems that even the company who made the game can't replicate its gameplay. But what exactly are all those fancy words I just used, like Crazy Dash? And what about this gameplay exactly makes it un-Crazy Taxi-like? You see, let me quickly break down what makes the original Crazy Taxi gameplay so engaging so I can properly explain what's so wrong with the revealed gameplay of the new one. You see, Crazy Taxi is like the fighting game of car games, okay? It gives you a bunch of options and cool tech to pull off and then just kind of lets you figure it all out. The game is built around two centralizing mechanics, the gear shifting and risk reward. The whole gameplay loop is go pick somebody up, get them to where they need to go within a certain amount of time, and then repeat until you screw up enough to game over. Every time you pick someone up, you get a whole bunch of extra time, and depending on how expedient you are with their delivery, you get even more bonus time. Not only that, since it's fundamentally an arcade game, you're obviously trying to shoot for a high score. This is where that risk reward comes in. Since this taxi is supposed to be a crazy one, your fare for getting these guys to the locations goes up depending on how many cool maneuvers you pull off. Weave between traffic, drift for a certain duration, get airtime. It incentivizes riskier play through rewarding you with more money. And that risk comes in the form of the cars also occupying the roads. Hitting one of the other cars means you have to get out, inspect the damage, file an insurance claim, take it to court even though it was literally their fault. Hitting one of the other cars, or pretty much anything in the environment, is a huge detriment to you. Your combo for cool tricks, gone. Your momentum, gone. Your amount of bonus when you get to your location, gone. This is the centralizing thing that causes the risk and reward in Crazy Taxi. There are instances where driving on the wrong side of the road would be faster and net you more points, but since you're going against traffic, there's a much greater chance you're going to just ram into one of the other cars, instantly stopping you. But there's a few techniques you can pull off that can potentially help you recover from instances like this. If you gear shift into drive and accelerate at almost the same time, you'll perform a Crazy Dash. Do the inverse with reverse and brake and you'll do a Crazy Stop. Hold both at the same time and turn and you'll do a Crazy Drift. The gear shifter is the beating heart of Crazy Taxi. Having a button that lets you do your dash or your drift would probably be a lot easier, but it removes the inherent challenge that's supposed to come with these techniques. Pulling them off can be a little tricky sometimes, and poor execution can put you in even worse spots than you were before. These two mechanics combined make Crazy Taxi this really interesting tightrope you have to walk of crazy dashing, drifting, avoiding cars, avoiding whatever the hell is happening here. These are the mechanics that make Crazy Taxi just work. Now with all of that in mind, let's look back at what available Crazy Taxi World Tour footage we have with sources on screen. In this clip, we see the person playing never gear shift once, drift into a wall and just slide along the edge of it, plow through traffic with barely any consequences, and stop on a dime while barely doing anything to achieve this. This plays nothing like Crazy Taxi! Stopping in the original Crazy Taxi was a much larger task than it sounds like it should be, because there's only really a few ways you can do it. Slow down and lose all your momentum, or slam into a goddamn wall. Both, depending on the situation, can take quite a bit of time and require falling back on that technique in order to pull off properly. Much like me standing outside your house with a baseball bat, the cars in the original game are there to stop you from just mindlessly going forward. Even if they do still make you lose your combo in World Tour, it isn't nearly enough of a punishment. Crazy Taxi in a way is made to make you feel like you're driving a real taxi. Barring some of the more Looney Tunes shit like taking 100-foot jumps or picking up passengers underwater. If there isn't any mechanical depth or skill ceiling to hit, then what is even the point? Now, in all fairness, this is some of the only footage we have so far, and the game is still not coming out until next year at the time of writing, but this was the footage Sega provided amidst this game's AI controversy. This was the footage they were comfortable with showing people to potentially quell the flames of this game's reveal. Now, everything I've said so far, I admit, does sound a little gatekeepy, but I want to make it clear, I'm not against them altering the gameplay to potentially make it more welcoming to newcomers. Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller makes great strides to make the game appeal to less experienced players while also catering to those who crave more mechanical depth. It introduces a jump button which lets you do a pretty sizable hop, which is great for both sides of the difficulty spectrum. It's great for new players that if you ever put yourself in a situation you're no longer comfortable with, you can potentially jump over some of the hazards in your path, be it oncoming traffic or just straight up buildings in certain scenarios. And it's even better for the experienced players who can use it to shave off even more time from the routes. They're either taking intentional shortcuts shortcuts or ones made up on the spot. The game also does a ton of other stuff, such as clearly communicating when certain maneuvers have been pulled off, as well as making the timings more lenient. I'm not opposed to, might I say I'm in favor of them lowering the skill floor of Crazy Taxi, but that shouldn't come at the expense of the skill ceiling. I'm not the first person to say this, but this gameplay looks like a pre-rendered mobile game. It's so just wrong looking. Now, this clip I've mostly been referencing isn't the only gameplay footage we've been given, but honestly, I'm not super huge on how the rest of it looks either. Here's an amazing clip where the taxi's about to green run to the sidewalk, but loses literally all of its momentum right before it's about to crash. It says in the bottom right that a crazy stop was just performed, but what does that even mean now? Just regularly hitting the brakes? There's nothing crazy about that. And not only that, during the main footage I've been showing of that pizza boy delivery side quest, it says that 10 crazy dashes have been performed in the top left, but they never gear shift once, so what the fuck does that mean now? Now, it is true that in pretty much every Crazy Taxi game, you can crazy dash without gear shifting, but to do it as frequently as this trailer would suggest, you would 100% have to throw it in reverse first. When I was discussing my issues with this gameplay that had been revealed with my partner, he wanted to play a bit of devil's advocate and brought up that maybe the only footage we've been shown has been of an unrevealed easy mode. Think something like the modern controls in Street Fighter 6, where it dumbs down a lot more of the technical parts to better acclimate unexperienced players. And I feel like that is a possibility, but I feel like they probably could have shown off some non-easy gameplay by this point, right? I mean, I certainly hope that's the case. I also really don't mess with how the game looks. The taxi looks so weightless now in all of the clips they're showing. It looks like someone just put a PNG of the taxi in the middle of the screen and is moving the camera around a bunch. In the original game, the taxi would bounce and move all over the place. It just looks so static and lifeless here. Now, that's not to say that they can't change up how the game looks. In fact, from that original trailer, I think the art style looks quite alright. But this is a sequel to Crazy Taxi. I don't think it's unrealistic that I would want it to look and play like it. It now just kind of looks like any other car game. Probably not helping that a lot of the footage provided is mostly street racing and mini games. Hell, we don't even know what the classic Crazy Taxi gameplay is even going to look like. For all we know, the game could just come out and this video will look insanely silly in retrospect because all the problems are self-contained to the open world. And the presumed arcade mode is just as good as it always has been. But I really doubt the gameplay is going to be that drastically different between the open world and arcade mode. Now, I'm aware this game doesn't come out for at least another half a year, but a lot of this footage looks pretty final to me. Like, I heavily doubt the gameplay and feel of the whole thing is going to change that drastically between now and then. And might I reiterate, this is the footage they felt comfortable with sharing. At the very least, this footage is supposed to represent something close to what the end product will end up looking like. It just looks so generic now. All of the charm and style Crazy Taxi's known for just isn't here. I'm kind of at the point where I feel like there's never going to be a true Crazy Taxi game again. There genuinely has yet to be a single game that replicates its gameplay feel. And not only that, but to me, the time where Crazy Taxi would make sense is kind of long past us. Hell, when was the last time you even got in a taxi? The Offspring is pretty irrelevant now. Real taxis are struggling to compete with ride-sharing apps. What even is Crazy Taxi if it doesn't have the gear shifting, risk reward, the difficult maneuvers, the branded locations, the slight racial insensitivity? Okay, well, maybe you can do without that last part. I feel like when World Tour comes out, it will at best be a good racing and car game, but nothing like Crazy Taxi. You know, honestly, a little part of me is relieved to see this game look as shit as it does, because a bad game that uses AI is way easier to avoid than a 10 out of 10 follow-up to a franchise you hold dear. Anyway, the video is over now. Sorry, I just need to rant for a bit. I love Crazy Taxi so much. It's probably one of my favorite and most played arcade games. If you guys fuck up that new Jet Set Radio, I'm causing a rapture at Sega headquarters. Goodbye.